evening, everybody. This is the No Cap Sports Show podcast where sports and convos collide. I am your moderator, Ebony Lofton. So glad you guys could join us. And we're excited for our special guest, Mr. Keith Burns. Additionally, we'll try and work in the conversation a bit about the NBA season is coming up. It just opened up, actually. We've got some Major League Baseball playoffs and a whole lot more. Thank you guys for joining. This is the No Cap Sports Show. What's up? What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing?
Everybody's good. What's going on?
Cool in the game. Cool in the game.
Good. Can everybody?
Yes, we can see you
Cool
good.
in the
We can
gang.
see you
Cool in the
good.
gang, indeed. Okay. Good.
Everybody good?
Yes,
What's
sir.
up, Jay Will?
Yes, sir.
All right.
What's up?
Oh,
What's
yeah.
up? What's up, world? How y'all doing today?
I think everybody's good. We got some folks already logged in, saying hello. That's always good.
Right.
This is an extra special No Cap Sports Show podcast.
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking
With
about.
our special guest this evening, Mr. Keith Burns. For those of you from Alexandria, Virginia, those of you in Denver, Colorado, and Tennessee, he needs no introduction. He is certainly family to us. We are very honored and privileged to have him on. And why don't we just go ahead and bring him in? Mr. Keith Burns, how are you?
What's up? What's up?
Big homie.
What's
My
up?
clap
What's
machine
up,
is in
baby?
the shop. My clap machine is in the shop.
What's up, OG?
Oh, it's all good. How y'all doing?
Man, we doing good. Hey, man, we doing better now that you here, bro.
Nah, you man.
Long
Hey,
time.
look like y'all got a nice setup, man. It's straight up good. This is nice. This is a nice deal.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
bro, let me tell you something, man. We appreciate you, man, and I want to just say, man, it's a pleasure to have you. Delray, stand up. Alexandria, Virginia, stand up.
Whoa,
TC
whoa,
Williams, stand
whoa.
the hell up.
Yes, sir.
Get a
Yes,
fucking seat, man,
indeed.
for real. One of the best athletes to come out of Alexandria, Virginia. That's
Mm-hmm.
facts. So, all right, let's get into
That's
it,
right.
babes.
No cap indeed. All right, well, fellas, the floor is yours.
Okay, Keith. Like I said, again, bro, we appreciate having you, man. Like I said, it's an honor and a pleasure, bro. Let me ask you this, man. Who was one of your biggest influences growing up?
I would say my mom. Knowing the way that I was growing up, and it wasn't always the best, but she always showed me love, and she always taught me that family was everything. And I think I kind of built my family that way, and
Right.
trust and believe in God, and everything ended up working itself out because I was in a situation at times, but I was able to pull myself out of it and become the person and the man that I am today. So I would say my biggest influence was my mom. I watched her a lot. I'm a mama's boy, so and not growing up with my dad, was all that I had to hang my hat on. So I didn't meet my dad till I was 29 years old. So that was kind of crazy within itself. So, but my mom was everything to me, and she still is to this day.
Favorite coach to play for and why?
I would say Mike Shanahan. I've learned a lot from him, and throughout my career, he is somebody that definitely believed in me. I think, from high school, Pop Warner, I had coaches that actually taught me what it was to grow up to be a man. And I think, Chick Armstrong and Thurston Howe were two guys that I actually looked up to as far as coaches, because they taught me how to say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and they had a no tolerance policy. So as far as that went, they basically kept me in line when I was younger and allowed me to grow into the young man that I was becoming. And not knowing what was ahead of me, they kind of looked out for me prior to me leaving high school to go on to college. But I would say those coaches influenced my earlier years, but my professional coach would probably be Coach Shanahan.
Okay, that's a great answer, and it's funny you brought up Chick Armstrong, because I want to throw these guys at you, and I want you to give me a one word answer to describe each and one of these coaches. Okay, Chick Armstrong.
Hard. He was hard.
Richard Howe.
Um, I would say he was a disciplinarian.
Glenn Furman.
I would say he was a student of the game. He was a student of the game.
Henry Stansel.
Wow. I would say he was stern. He was stern.
That's my guy.
He was stern. He was stern.
What is the best part about competing? Like, like every Sunday when you play play professionally, what was the best part about competing?
Knowing that you were actually laying it on the line for the guys that you actually went to war with. Not really war, because some people, they take offense to that, and like I say, I understand that. But when you're in the trenches with guys week in and week out, and you go through what you go through, from going 8-8 one year, then your head coach getting fired my rookie year, and then Shanahan came in my second year, and you saw something special being built and put together, and knowing that you're a part of that, I think going out there and being willing to lay it on the line every Sunday was something that I look forward to. And I didn't have to have a big role, but I knew whatever my job was, I was going to do it and do it to the best of my ability. And I think long as I did that, I knew I was doing my part, because we always had a round table on Monday. And if you play on Sunday, you got to bring something back to the table on Monday, or you ain't got nothing to talk about. So I always felt that I had to go out there and make a play on Sunday to somehow impact the game, so I'll have something to talk about on Monday.
Right. Okay. Hey, go ahead, guys. Like I said, I got about 50 million questions and stuff like that, so I got to let my folks get in. Go ahead.
Well, I'll start then. Again, thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule, giving us the opportunity to interview you.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
And researching you, well, I saw you play live. That was one of the best teams, the Bronco teams that you played on. And I hated Brett Favre, so I'm happy y'all beat him. But you also played with one of the idols that I grew up with, and that's Shannon Sharp. So if you can give us a PG version of your best Shannon Sharp story, I think we'll love
it. We kind of go way back. I mean, it's kind of ironic the way we became. But it was like, I think 95, and me as a rookie, I kind of stayed with the young guys for the most part. But he had actually had his eye poked, and he had ended up in IR at the end of the season, and it was the off season, and he had surgery, so he was actually hungry, and he wanted somebody to bring him food. And the crazy part about it was, he used to give away a lot of stuff. He used to get from, whether it was Nike, whoever he was dealing with, apparel and stuff like T-shirts and sweaters, hats and everything, gloves or whatever. He wouldn't mind signing autographs and stuff like that. But I was more standoffish because I didn't really know him like that. But for some reason, I still don't know till this day how he got my phone number. And he ended up calling me, and he's actually, he actually called, I guess, 100 other teammates, and all of them turned him down. He just wanted some Wendy's, and he ended up somehow getting my number, and he called me and asked me what I was doing, and I told him, I said, I'm sitting here just chilling, watching my daughter. I just had a newborn my rookie year, so it was all about, just me and her. And I was like, nah, I'm just sitting here with my daughter. But he said, do you mind going to pick me up some Wendy's and bringing it to the house? And I was like, okay. And I said, nah, no problem. I said, can I bring my daughter with me? He was like, yeah, that's cool. So I actually went to Wendy's, got him some food, and brought it to him because I wasn't doing anything. But to him, that was a big deal, because out of him giving everybody any and everything, he actually took it upon himself to say, okay, this is a guy that actually I can count on, because he's never wanted anything from me, because, we had rarely talked prior to that. But I still don't know how he got my number to this day. But I went, long story short, I went, took him some food, and it's like we just sat back and started talking, him being drafted in the 7th round, me being drafted in the 7th round, and coming from where we came from, we just started hitting it off. And he's a jokester, I'm a jokester, and our friendship pretty much just blossomed from there. And it's almost like he wouldn't do nothing without me. I wouldn't do much without him. He doesn't do much. He's a homebody. So we'll be sitting at the house just chilling, me and him, either playing cards or watching Jeopardy. And our friendship just started to build and build. And it's to the point now where it is now. It's like, he's not going to do anything without telling me. I wouldn't do anything without telling him, and vice versa. So he's like really one of my best friends, basically league best friends that I have is him, Rod Smith, and a couple of other guys. But he's one of those guys that basically took me under his wing and told me and showed me how to stay in the league. So when we had an off day on Tuesday, he pretty much told me, in order to stay in this league, you know what they do on Tuesday? They have workouts. So if you want to find out who they bringing in to try to take your position, you bring your butt over here and work out. So that's what I did. He got me into working out on my off day and basically showed me the ropes until he was ready to cut the cord so I could go out there on my own. But that's basically how it blossomed. So that's the PG version of how me and Shannon Sharp actually became. That's how we became friends. And we've been best friends for a long time. I've been knowing him for almost 20 plus years. But like I said, he's an awesome guy. I mean, it's amazing the response that people get from him, and thinking that, he's this big person, but he's just a regular guy. And he's basically a guy that will give you pretty much everything that you have, because that's what he is and that's who he is. But that's also, like I said, an awesome friend, and he's somebody that I lean on for a lot of things. And I don't know where I would be career-wise without him.
That's awesome to hear.
That's awesome to hear. That's dope, big homie.
Yeah, that's
my
awesome.
Man, Keith Burns, born and raised in born in Greeleyville, South Carolina, raised in Alexandria, VA.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, man. Hey, listen, when I called you last week, we talked for about 10 minutes. And once we got done with that phone call, I called Fred. I said, listen, man, just in the 10 minutes that I talked to him, man, this guy is so humble. That's what I got from you. Appreciative, humble. It didn't come off fake. It came off real genuine.
Absolutely.
And with that said, you were drafted in the 7th round of the NFL. Talk about the anxiety leading up to that, because I do believe still at that time it was only 7 rounds, correct?
Right. That was the second.
That was the final round. Exactly.
Yeah, that was the second year.
Talk about the anxiety, man, leading up to that. Knowing like, well, damn, it's the 7th round. Is my name gonna be called? And then talk about what it felt like once your name was called. Because like I said, I know you're a humble guy. Like I said, we talk, man. Your story is incredible. We don't have enough time. I mean, you went to junior college, and transferred, had a hell of a season at Oklahoma State. I may add. But talk about the anxiety leading up to the 7th round, and then once your name was called, talk about the excitement and the, just the release of anxiety.
Well, like you said, we go way back, and I always used to tell you that, one day I was going to play in the NFL, but I guess because nobody basically prior to me getting there actually have done it. So it was like you had a couple of guys with a couple of tryouts, but they've never actually really, let me make sure this light stays on. I'm in the office, it's shutting off. But nobody had actually made it to that next level prior to me going. So it was more like I didn't have a blueprint, so it was like I didn't really know how to get there, but I knew I wanted to get there. And I just felt like, if I did everything that I needed to do with the God-given talent that I had, things would work out. And as leading up to the draft, it was more of like I didn't know what to expect. And like I said, it's one of those deals like, can you really play at that level? Because nobody coming from TC had done it yet. So I was like, okay, well, if I get the opportunity, that's all I need. I'll show them that I can play the game, because that's basically all I've been doing all my life is playing football. So leading up to it was a little anxious, but it was like as the rounds started going, because like you said, I was the number 1 linebacker coming out that year. But I was not a workout guy, so I wasn't, in the weight room forever. My thing was I can find the ball, I can hit the person with the ball, and that's all I thought that I needed to do. But I didn't know I needed to run a fast 40 and bench press all of these weights and all of that stuff. I just, clearly, didn't worry about that. So I was like, okay, if my name is not called, it's like, well, what do I do? But um, I was kind of nervous, but like I said, not having known what to expect, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I said, well, even if I get like a free agent tryout, I think I'm confident enough in my ability that I can go out there and get the job done. But leading up to it, I mean, my mom, my sister, brother, everybody was there. So it was like we kind of threw a little party, but it wasn't nothing, overwhelming. But
Right.
it was, here it is, Sunday, the last day of the draft, and the rounds are ticking away. And like you said, it's the seventh round. They get to, pick 209, and Denver, my phone actually rings. So Denver's actually on the clock, the next
Dan
pick.
Reeves.
And, Wade Phillips actually called. He was the head coach at that time. And he asked me, was I ready to be a Bronco? And that's
Wow.
basically all it took. And I was
That's what's
like,
up.
you're gonna get, you're gonna get the best of me. And I think looking at it from that perspective, it was like, wow, it actually happened. But I knew I still had to go out there and prove myself. So I knew the work didn't stop there,
Right.
but I did have the opportunity that I was looking for, and it ended up working itself out. But leading up
Sure
to it,
did.
I got nervous a little bit. But
Right.
my best friend, Sean Andrews, Spanky, everybody knows Spanky.
Spank,
By
spank.
the way, he actually came with the shirt. I don't know if he had the shirt, on speed dial or something. He had he came in the house. He actually came over to my mom's house with a shirt that said 210th pick in the NFL draft. So it was one of those deals. It was a happy moment for my family, and it all worked out. So
Yes,
that was
sir.
leading up to the draft. And like I said, the rest of the story is, it was all up to
History.
me.
That's right.
So I never looked back from that point, but I definitely took it and ran with it. God blessed me with the ability, and I was thankful for it.
So, Mr. Keith, everybody been asking you about like personal feelings. I got two questions for you.
Go ahead.
First one, I want to ask you, who was the toughest guy you ever had to hit? It could be one person, it could be one hit, whether they ran you over completely, if you made the tackle, he still kind of, who was it that just brought that thump that like you like, damn, I don't want to hit this guy, man.
I would say the toughest guy I ever had to go against was probably Jerome Bettis.
Oh,
Being a back with that type of girth, with the feet that he had,
Yeah.
he was a back that you had to brace yourself, and you knew it was going to be one of those type days. The only back that I never actually got a chance to play against, and probably I always feel is probably the best back to ever play the game, is probably Barry Sanders.
Wow.
But I've talked to him plenty of times by him being an alumni of Oklahoma
That's
State.
right.
So we've come across each other plenty of times, and I've always told him that, out of all the backs that I've ever played against in the NFL, he was the one that I never really got an opportunity to play against. But I would say Bettis would be that guy because of his size and his girth. You think you're gonna get your arms around him, but you really seriously call that a wrapped up tackle.
Right. So the second question, you won 2 Super Bowls. So your first Super Bowl, you getting taped up, you warming up. Walk us through the nerves and the anxiety before the Super Bowl, man.
What question, Jay?
Well, having watched them all the way up till then on TV, to actually say that you're actually about to play in one.
Right.
I walked on the field, shedded some tears because I couldn't believe that I was actually in that moment.
Right.
And it's like, here I am coming from Alexandria, and I always get choked up about it because
That's okay, bro.
It's all good, bro.
I came so far, and to actually be at that point in your life to say you've arrived, and I knew that everybody was watching that game.
Right.
So it was one of those like, how can I go out here and perform knowing that everybody's watching this game? So I had to calm my nerves a lot, big time. All my friends were there, but I knew that I was going to win that game, not only for me, but for Alexandria.
That's right.
So I think, and like I said, I talk about it all the time, but knowing how many people were in it for me to do that, and for me to actually be able to bring that trophy home to Alexandria, it left me speechless. But it was a game that I've dreamt about all my life. So in order for me to be able to say that I actually played in the Super Bowl, it was a childhood dream of mine. So for it to actually come to fruition, it was crazy. But like I said, to go on to not only play in the game, but to win the game was amazing. And like I said, outside of getting married The birth of my kids, that was like one of my greatest moments.
Right, right. That's dope.
Hey, J-Dub got the guest on here getting emotional. My man. Okay, J-Dub. That's a great question, man.
It's
That's a
the
great question.
Super Bowl. How can you not get choked up about the Super Bowl? And family,
Right.
if you don't know already, this is the No Cap Sports Show podcast where sports and convos collide, but you can be part of the conversation. This is the one and only Mr. Keith Burns, two-time Super Bowl champion. He is a current special teams coach over at Tennessee State. Obviously, my beloved Washington football team, special teams coach, former. I was watching that interview with you, by the way. But please, if you'd like, please call in. Talk to Keith. Talk to us.
Don't be
ask
scared.
some questions that we aren't thinking. No
Right.
need to be scared of us.
Yeah,
We
don't
want to
bite.
hear from you. Let us know. Keith, I feel that in my soul, like right here. Like seriously,
appreciate it.
that's listen.
That's
The
dope.
Super Bowl. Yes,
Right,
I
right.
love it.
That's big
I
time.
love it.
Hey, Keith, if I can, just real quick. I just want to switch gears real quick.
Okay.
Obviously, the big talk in the NFL has been John Gruden over the last 8. You played for John Gruden for 1 year in 2004, correct?
Right. Yes, sir.
Did you see like any of these traits? Because I hear players now, Keyshawn Johnson, Antonio Brown. They're all saying now, "I told you so. I told you so." Did you see any of this in him? Back then, like what has come to fruition. And did you see anything, or did you have a good relationship, or how was your relationship with John Gruden?
I was just, like I said, I was only down there for a year. They had a great culture down there in Tampa. Some of those guys that were teammates with me, Derek Brooks, Anthony McFarland, Boog, who was on ESPN, Sheldon Quarles. Our linebacker group was pretty steady as far as that go. But no, I didn't ever saw anything like that. That's why it was more surprising to me when it all came out. But you never know how a person's feeling, in any situation, but for whatever reason, he felt he had to express himself in the email, in the emails that he did. But I never saw anything that it would have indicated that he was that type of person. But it is what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, a person will, reveal his character at any time. Whether it's through emails or something that he says out his mouth. But I was more shocked than anything. But having been around him for that year, I mean, he was always up front, never gave any indication that that's how he felt about individuals. But obviously, he felt that way about certain individuals and certain stereotypes that he used in those emails. Do I think is right? No. But like I said, I can't be the judge. At the end of the day, he got to answer to God himself. So, I hate that he has to go through it. But at the end of the day, I think it was, good that it all came out. And, now he can start to heal not only and change his way of thinking, but at some point, is he at the age where he's not going to change? He'll always think that way. You never know.
Right.
There it is.
Preach.
Right.
Okay, hey, OG. The OG Marcus Elliott wanted us to ask you, please, someone ask him about his talent on the hardwood. He was a beast. We just talked about that before we came on air and stuff like that. Marcus, I already brought up the fact that he broke the rim in practice at TC Williams and stuff like that. I already asked him about he was doing some damage against Grant Hill and his mob or what have you when they played South Lakes, man. But yeah, Keith was a hell of an athlete, man, a hell of an athlete, and he inspired a lot of people such as myself. I already told him I looked up to him, man. Like I said, when I came in as a seventh grader at Francis E. Hammond, Keith was in the ninth grade, and all I did was just pause on this, but yeah, all I did was just lay eyes on him. You know what I'm saying? From a football standpoint and a basketball standpoint, man. You remember you played with Emmanuel Hitch?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Lou.
Yeah.
Tracy Ledbetter.
Yeah.
Ricky Billingsley.
Yeah.
Yeah, so y'all had a nice mob and stuff like that, man. But yeah, you was a hell of an athlete, man. And I will say this, man, one of the best athletes, if not the best athlete, to come out of Alexandria, both sports. So there it is, right there, bro.
Yeah,
but let me ask you, Hey, Mo, you got another question, but I don't mean to cut you off,
Just
man.
just
Go ahead,
one
bro.
more, because
Go
I
ahead,
know
big
you
bro.
know
Go
what. Hey, when you got an idol, you can go all day. But now it's funny you say that. So Fred was somebody that looked up to you. I'm pretty sure there's many others. But who inspired you to play the position that you played?
Good question.
I'm a huge Giants linebacker fans. I'm talking about from Lawrence Taylor to Carson, Reasons, Pepper Johnson. So those Carl Banks, those were the linebackers that I tried to pattern myself after, because when I saw them play, they basically left it all out there on the field and they played as one unit, and like I said, I would look, and I also looked up to Frank Sanders going to high school. He actually wore 48 before I did. So,
Wow.
and I used to go. Thurston Howell used to take me because his sons was actually playing at TC. He used to take me to those games, and I was playing at Pop Warner. So I used to be like watching him, like thinking he was like the best linebacker that I had ever saw in high school. So I kind of patterned myself, and I wanted that number when I got to TC,
Oh, yeah.
and I was very blessed to actually get that number, and now it's retired. But I looked up to Frank Sanders growing up as a linebacker. He might not know this, but and I've only told a few people this, but he is definitely one. But as far as the pros go, I always patterned myself after a linebacker that played at Michigan State named Percy Snow. I loved him. He wore number
Yes, I heard
48.
Percy Snow.
He wore number 48. But when I got
Percy's.
growing up from the pros, it was definitely the Giants linebackers that, bar none, I thought they were the best linebackers that walk the face of the earth. And so I tried to take a piece of their game and implement it into mine at all times. And that's what I basically carried myself after. They were nasty on the field, so I felt like I had to be nasty out there.
Yeah, I
Wow.
like that.
Hey, Keith, let me ask you this. In terms of what is the best college or pro atmosphere that you've ever played in?
Oh, believe it or not, I don't know. Coach George might get on me about this, but I actually played at the University of Michigan when it had like 90 something thousand people. We had a great defense in
Yes.
college, but
Right.
the atmosphere was just like out of this world playing in Ann Arbor. And I was like, because I've watched them on TV for years, so to actually go into that stadium and say, "Wow, I'm playing against Elvis Gerback, Tyrone Wheatley,
Mhm.
those guys." I mean, they were bringing it. Ricky Powers. I'm looking at these guys like, okay, but I was blessed to be able to line up against them because they knew that they were going to get my best on that day. I mean, we actually had 5 turnovers, but our offense wasn't pretty good, so we ended up losing like 31-13 late in the fourth quarter. But it was just playing in that atmosphere. That was almost like my welcome to college football. Being in an atmosphere like that, and I was like, okay, this is what it's like. And then you go back and watch a movie like The Program, and they show you how it's supposed to be, and this is how it's done. But that was basically my introduction to college football, playing in Ann Arbor, and I think that was like one of the best, experiences that I actually had. And then, of course, the rivalry with OU, playing in that
Mhm.
game. It was like amazing because we hadn't beaten them in so many years. But then my junior year, I actually had a blocked extra point and ran it back for a 2-point conversion against them, and we ended up tying them in college. And then the next year we went up there and they kind of blew the doors off us. But I think playing up there in Norman, but I would say Ann Arbor was like the atmosphere in college that was second to none for me.
So when you came, okay, let me ask you this: when you came out of, because you went to Navarro Junior College, right?
Yes, in Corsicana, Texas. Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you this: who was the other schools that were recruiting you at that time outside of Oklahoma State, and why did you choose Oklahoma State?
It was easy. Sure, I could have probably went any school coming
Yeah.
out of junior college. You figure I took visits to Texas A&M, Louisville. I took Mississippi State. I
Mm.
think University of Miami, Penn State, Arizona State. they all wanted me, but Oklahoma State, I went up there, took a visit, and it was one of those deals where, but the thing that sold me on Oklahoma State is, they never promised me anything. They say you got to come in and work for it. And I'm like, I was willing to do that, but it was two things. They said they were looking for a linebacker, they were looking for a leader. And I felt that those were two things that I definitely felt that I could bring to, that program and try to get it going in the right direction. I just wish we had the offense in college that they have now. With the defense that we had, I would have loved that, but they needed two things. And I felt that I brought those two things to the table. And, fortunate for me, it kind of worked out. I went in and didn't play much the first game, but after the second game, I started starting and, I never looked back from there. I had I think 106 something tackles that year, a couple of interceptions, and lo and behold, that's when the college scouts start coming around, the pro scouts start coming around, and I was like, okay, when they want to talk to me, it's like now the light bulb moment has hit me, and it's like you might have a chance, but I still didn't know the path to get to where I wanted to go. But being named an All-American, preseason All-American, and all of those accolades that came with it, I just stayed steady, and tried to work out to become the best player that I was. At the end of the day, that's what it ended up being. And like I said, ended up getting drafted and never looked back. I was blessed to be able to play 13 years in the NFL, and, I was able to walk away from the game. I didn't have to limp away.
So was the head coach of Oklahoma State your quarterback at that time, Gundy?
No, he actually was the quarterbacks coach because he had finished up in 80. He actually finished up in 89. He was the quarterbacks coach when I was actually in college. I mean, I still talk to him. The last time I was up there was in, I don't want to say 17. I took my son up there.
Okay.
We went to the Oklahoma State OU game. I think it was Baker Mayfield's his senior year. So we went up there, me and my wife and my son. It was his senior year in high school. So I always told him that, I'd take him back to one of those games. So we went to the Bedlam game. But now him being the head coach, he had carte blanche to everything. So he actually put us up in the nice suite and everything. So it was ironic, that seeing him now as the head coach. But yeah, he was actually the quarterback coach when I was in college.
All right, we got two comments, man. Rodney Belly said Keith was a hell of a catcher playing baseball when we were young. Charles Pittman said Keith turned me into a full-time basketball player after one hit up TCU football. So I see you, Pitt. I see you, Rodney. Again, guys, go ahead. You guys go ahead and ask your question because, like I said, I can be here all night long. I got plenty. So I'm gonna let you guys
I have a quick question, please.
Go ahead, babies.
I have a quick question. First of all, shout out to Marcus Elliott, Juanita Threat, Lo Morgan, everybody for their comments. Thank you. But Keith Burns. So I read that you did stand-up comedy.
Wow.
Is that correct?
Wow. Actually, I have.
I love that though.
Listen,
I'm an aspiring comic.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
When you're on stage, like it's your thing, right?
God. Yeah, it is actually. But I actually grew up with Donnell Rollins.
That's right.
He lived around the corner from me.
Donnell from Delray.
True that.
Me growing up, but I mean, I've been telling jokes. I've been telling jokes probably since I was probably 5 years old, and it was one of those actually there. One of the beat writers in Denver actually, he challenged me oh, you think you're so funny in the locker room, why don't you go on stage and see how that works? And he said that as if I was scared, even though I had never been on stage at that time. But I'm telling jokes, that's easy. That's what I do. It's almost like it's natural. So I took it upon myself and I was like, all right, you book it, I'm on. So I didn't know. And this is as the internet was really, really getting big, they actually put it and posted it that, Denver Broncos.
Wait, is there footage out there?
Yeah, there is actually somewhere. There is footage out there somewhere. So I actually did. I went down, but I didn't know that he was going to pub it up. I didn't know he was going to pub it up the way that he did. So he actually blew it up and put it out there on the internet, put it out there on TV. So everybody in Denver actually knew me playing for the Broncos. That's a crazy town. Fans love you. So it was standing room only when I come out there on the stage. So I was kind of okay, now I really got to give them a show. I had a 3-minute set, was great. I think I knocked it out the box, just hanging out with other comedians, that were trying to make it at the time. It was an amateur night, and I went out there, said my bit, but it's something that I've always, kept close to my heart. And even on my off days, I would go down to Comedy Works and just hang out just to see like, the timing of some comedians, the material that they
Mm-hmm.
use and stuff
The
like that.
timing
What's
is
hot.
key.
Exactly. What's
Yes.
hot out there and things like that. But I could turn a joke into pretty much anything for me. And
Yep.
and like I said, I think I get that probably more from my mom and most of the people in my family, because my
Right.
mom always told me that, it's she'll rather see me laugh than cry. But
That's
there's
right.
nothing wrong with crying.
Sure
And
isn't.
that is something that I've
I
learned
love that.
as I got older. So I'm
Yeah.
okay with crying now, but I love to laugh. I
Yeah.
laugh all the
I
time.
like it. I did stand-up comedy. I did an amateur night myself.
Oh, did
And
you?
How
yeah.
How did it go? How
Yeah, I
did it go?
did. Hmm.
How did it go? How
It
did
was
it go?
good, but it was one of those places where they didn't boo, so I don't really know if it was like good or not. But I felt like I was good, so
Keith, it
that's
was
all
in
that matters.
she had a mirror in front of her, Keith. That's what that was.
No,
Oh,
no, I did not. I was in Maryland. But you know what, Keith, you know this. They're brutal. I told the guy, I was like, I want to
yeah.
go last. He was like, you don't tell me what to do. You just
Wow.
go on when I
Oh
tell you
yeah.
to. I was like,
Exactly.
oh,
Okay.
like comedy is not, it's not for the faint of heart. You have to be
No.
real.
And
But I
see,
have very good jokes. If you need some jokes, I can share my
the
jokes with
thing
you.
the thing about
Yeah.
being a comedian, especially just starting out, you have
Right.
to almost like go to those amateur nights for them to
You
take you
do.
serious.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go like
Yes.
5 or 6 times before they even give you a chance to get on stage. It's
Wow.
not like you're just
So
gonna show
true.
up and they're gonna put you on stage. They want to know that
Yeah.
this is something that you're serious about. It's not a fly by night type thing.
Right.
Even though I had
Yeah.
an easy pass to get in, but just
Right.
talking to the guys, and then just seeing how it works from that perspective. A lot of guys come down there night in and night out, week in and week out, just to try to get on stage, just to say, this is what either they're working on new material, just trying to catch a break. That's all
Yeah.
it takes for a comedian to be able to do that. So it's
Right.
ironic because when you first hit the stage, you can't see anything. All you
No,
see
and the
is the
sound and everything is crazy,
exactly,
right?
exactly. So when you go out there, of course, I was a little lit.
Okay.
I was a little lit when I went on the stage, so I was a little calm at the
Liquid
time.
courage.
Exactly.
Yes.
So with the lights right in your face, with the lights being right in your face, it was kind of
It's
crazy because you
crazy.
never all you're
Yes.
going off of is sound. So either
That's
you're
it.
telling a joke that is funny,
Yeah.
or the room gets real quiet and it goes dry. So you got to come out with a bang, being a comedian
Right.
that nobody's ever seen, just to get them started. But once you get going and you get into your set, you kind of start calming down, but the lights are right up on you. So you don't see nobody but the people in the front row.
Nope.
Everybody else in the room, you don't even know. You can't even really pay much attention
No.
to them,
Right.
but you're going off a feel and hear
Right.
for the most part.
Hey Keith,
But it's crazy.
shout out to the OG Brad Ash. He said my man 50 grand. Keith, much love and respect.
Yes, sir. That's my
What's
man. We
up,
played
Brad?
on the basketball team together. That's my guy.
I know y'all
That's
used
my
to take
guy.
me home from practice, man. I know on Saturday practices. Yeah, I definitely
Exactly.
know. Go ahead,
Exactly.
Hey,
Big
yo,
Bro
Keith, I
Juan.
got another question for
Oh,
you.
go ahead. My bad.
Go
man.
ahead.
So, I want to take it modern day.
Uh-huh.
Who is you can give top 3, you can give just your favorite. Who's your favorite linebackers or just straight hitters? It could be a safety, anybody. Who's some of your favorite defensive players to watch?
I would say Fred Warner from the 49ers. I like his
Oh
game.
wow.
He brings it. I would say the linebacker in Chicago. I like his game. I've been watching
Roquan
him
Smith.
since high school.
Yeah.
And then I would say who's probably on the tail end of his career, probably the linebacker in Seattle.
Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner. I remember evaluating him when he came out of college. Yeah.
Really?
I remember evaluating him coming out of college, and I was like, okay, I could see him, being that guy coming from a small school. I was like, you could see him just running around and his enjoyment of playing the game. And those are the type of things that I look for, when I'm actually watching tape, because the tape is going to tell you who this person is.
Right.
Everybody knows that, if you like playing the game, you can play the game. But and when you find those guys from those little schools, you know that they feel like this is the only chance that they have. So they have to basically put their best foot forward. And you knew you were going to get that out of Bobby Wagner every time he stepped on the field. So
Wow.
it's not a surprise that his career is the way that it is, and it ended up being, the way that it did. So I think other than him being on the tail end, the back end of his career, he was exactly what I thought he was coming out of college.
Cool. And I got one more before Mo goes. So, as a complete defense, it can be yours that y'all win a Super Bowl with. Who is your favorite defense unit of all time?
Go on, bro.
By far, it's the 2000 Ravens.
Yes, sir.
By far.
Easy,
By far.
easy,
Even though
easy.
even though my best friend actually went and played for them,
Sharp.
he actually left Denver, and we actually played them in the wild card game. And a ball ricocheted off Terrell Buckley's hands.
Yep.
He ended up catching it
Yep.
and ran down the sidelines past me.
Yes,
He
he
was
did.
laughing. We still laugh about it to this day. And he actually ended up scoring a touchdown. So it was ironic, but that team to me, like I said, I would watch that team any day. I'll put that defense up against anybody.
Anybody.
When they walked on the field with the guys that they had on that defense, bar none. And he used to tell me, Shannon used to tell me all the time that the defense coordinator come to the offense and tell him, say, how many points, and I think it was Marvin Lewis at the time. He'd say, how many points y'all need? How many points y'all need this week? And he say, if you give us 7, we good.
He's right. Yes.
That's how good that
He's right.
was.
Yes.
Hands down, that 2000 Ravens defense was the best defense I've ever seen in my life.
Hey, real quick, do you realize in the Super Bowl they beat the Giants? And do you know the Giants never made it to Baltimore's 20-yard line the entire game? No, I'm serious. The only touchdown they scored was on the kickoff return.
Yep.
They never made it to the 20-yard line of Baltimore in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I think, some people would say the 85 Bears, but the 85 Bears wasn't putting up the numbers like this defense. I mean, the Bears defense was great.
I was about to bring them up, too.
If it's anything better than great, that Baltimore Ravens defense 2000 was it. Because I've never, and I don't know if we'll ever see a defense like that again. Because in the NFL now, it's probably illegal. To put together a defense like that. But hands down, I would say that Baltimore Ravens defense is the best defense, hands down.
Bad.
That's what's up. Yeah, hey, I gotta stick up for my idol, man. Y'all in Denver, y'all ain't want to pay him that bag. That's why he had to go.
Well, no, sometimes it's not even about the money. It's about being appreciated.
Right.
And we sat back and talked about it. Actually, I had left. I was gone. And like I said, we were real close. And he was like, well, I think because he had actually broke his collarbone the year before. So, of course, getting up there in age, they was like probably felt that, he wasn't going to be the same player. Right. So he said, well, now it's time for me to take on a new challenge. So I'm going to take my leadership to Baltimore. And I think that was the missing piece that they actually needed because he always said, he always had one play in him. He'll call me every Sunday talking about, I got one play in me. So he'll call himself one play Shay. He'll go by the nickname One Play Shay. So that was his thing. And if you look at that season, that's what he was giving you, one play a game. And when they got in the playoffs, everybody remember when they played the Raiders in that championship game.
One touchdown.
80-yarder.
Yes.
That's all the defense needed.
Yes.
And they never looked back from there.
Yes, that was the only touchdown they scored that whole game. Everything else was field goal.
Exactly.
Raiders didn't score, correct?
No, they
was it like 13-3?
They got a field goal.
Field goal, 13-3.
Got a field goal.
Yep.
But yeah, that defense was tough. So I mean, I'm not surprised. But yeah, when he left, it was bittersweet. But at the same time, he did ended up coming back. So we did finish up, I think 2002, 2003 together. And then I left in 2004. Yep. And then he basically said, he was done. He retired, went into TV, and he hadn't looked back since either. He's doing a hell of a job, on this show. And I think, everybody loves seeing him. We're getting up in the morning to catch his show because he's going to give you
stuff. You already know it.
He's going to give you stuff.
Every day.
He gives us a gym every day.
And that's exactly who he was. That's who he was in the locker room, and that's the type of person that he's always been. He's a great, like I said, he's a great role model. I always look up to him, and like I said, for me to be able to call him my best friend is basically an honor. And I know that's not something that you want to honor your best friend, but him being who he is, like I said, I wouldn't trade. I traded for the world.
Well, actually, he honors you just as much, bro, because it's been several times on Undisputed where he put it out there and
He
stuff like that
sure
in terms of,
has.
in terms of his main
Yes.
man,
Yeah.
his
Hmm.
go-to guy
Keith
is Keith
Burns.
Burns.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's Keith. Obviously brought your name. I don't know if he said Rod Smith as well, but
Yeah.
yes, it
Yeah.
definitely
Yes.
your name. I
He
was like,
sure has.
wow.
He
Yeah,
sure
I
has.
tell them to keep that on the low because a lot of people may be looking for me that ain't seen me in a while. But when he bring my name up, a lot of people end up texting me and be like, "Oh, Shannon gave you a shout out." But I talk to him. I talk to him probably about every other week just to
Sure.
check on him. Because like I said,
Hmm.
when I was in LA with the Chargers, I would go hang out with him. On the weekends we'd kick it. Catch up just like old times. And now that I'm in Nashville, we don't get to hang out as much, but I always, check on him, make sure he's good on that end. Living out there in LA by himself, just make sure everything is going good. Check on him how the show's going, stuff like that, just to, keep him level headed at times.
How was that
Hmm.
experience, man? Being special teams coach with the LA Chargers.
Actually, I was an assistant at that time, but it's always
Hmm.
awesome. Anytime you get an opportunity, to coach at the highest level,
Hmm.
and me being a player and played the game as long as I did, my thing is always when you get those young guys who, have been, the man wherever they've been, as far as whatever college they went to, making it to the next level, everybody's been the man. So now you're getting the opportunity, but you may come in and you're now, the fifth team running back, so your way of making it on the football team is going to probably be through the special teams,
Hmm.
area on the team. So, and
Right.
our thing is, if you're going to do it, you might as well be able to do it and do it well. So I always tell the young guys, I made a career out of it, and I tell people all the time, I only started 3 times in my career, but I played 13 years. So what do you think that I did most of
That
my
is
career?
right.
That's right.
That is
That's
That's
covering
right.
correct.
that is
That's what I
covering
told
tape.
somebody. Yes,
So
sir.
at the same
Hmm.
time, I was always a team guy. So I tell the young
Yes.
guys now coming in, you have to find your niche to be
That's
able to
right.
stay on this football team
Hmm.
because they only start 22 guys. If you're
Right.
not in that starting rotation, you better be able to play
He's on
special
special
teams and
teams.
play it well. So from that standpoint, I mean, it's always been great for me, but I always love coaching at that level. I'm learning the college game now. Love coaching in college because I take the same approach now that I did in the NFL to try to get those young guys in the NFL to be exactly how I was. And I give them every example, all the experiences that I had playing in the kicking game and now I just take it to the college level and try to get those guys to be able to believe in me, trust
That's
what I'm
right.
teaching them, so they can go out there and be successful on Saturday, just as I did to try to get those guys to be successful on Sunday.
Now
Great.
I got one more for you. Being that you were a special teamer, and anybody that played football know that's the most dangerous occupation out there. Um, and being that we have awareness about CTE and everything like that,
Come on, bro.
if you knew about that then, and it sounds like you were a hell of a basketball player, hell of a baseball player, would you still play the game of football?
No
Yeah, I think
question,
I
bro.
would. I think I would. Because that's all I knew at the time. I mean, but knowing what I know now, yeah, I think I would. Because, like I said, I was able to change not only my family's life, but a lot of people's lives. Being able to play the game of football, so that's part of the sacrifice. I knew what I was signing up for. Did I know what it was doing to me at the time? No, but that's part of it. Now that we're more educated about it, now you have the choice to either say, okay, if this is doing this to our players, we have to look at the player safety
That's right.
perspective from it. And like I said, me having a son, everybody automatically assumed that he was going to do exactly what his dad did. But
Right.
I was fortunate enough to put him in a position that he didn't have to live the way that I live.
That's right.
So I think, him being a product of his environment, he wasn't one. He loved the game. He'll run around. I think he's very athletic. I had two daughters that played actually college basketball. I mean, they were
Yes.
great athletes. So at the same time, I didn't put that pressure on my son to go out there and be like his dad. Whatever he chose in life, I just wanted him to be a productive person and a productive citizen that is very respectful and
Preach.
went out and did his thing. Next year, he'll be graduating from High Point University in May.
No
Right,
problem.
So
right.
he's the last of the Mohicans. So all of my kids have, graduated from college.
Great
Both of my
father.
daughters have their
Hmm.
masters. My oldest daughter
That's what I'm
actually
talking
works.
about.
She actually works for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. She got her first Super Bowl
Woo!
ring this
Mm,
year.
that's dope.
She's been down there
Mm.
for 3 years working PR. My youngest daughter is a kindergarten teacher in Atlanta. And then with my son graduating, he'll forge his own path. But I never wanted them to ever go out there and play the game the way that I played because it was a lot more violent. and it was a little bit more no holds bar when I played in the NFL. They kind of cleaned it up now, and they look more on the safer side than they did when I was playing. But I wouldn't change it for anything because I love playing the game. I love being around the game of football, and that's why I like coaching it still to this day. But it's a safer way to play the game, and that's just the way that we weren't taught. And now
Right.
that I'm allowed to be able to go out and teach the safer way, I'm all for it. And I would look forward to going out and teaching it that way so we can continue to play the game of football.
Hey, Keith, the OG Yoke said, nice, what's up, homie? What's up,
Oh,
nephew?
tell them I say what's up.
That's his blue friend, the Blue Brothers. That's the Blue Brothers.
What's up, OG? Hey,
Lizzie
go ahead,
Black.
big bro. Go ahead, big bro.
No, I was just gonna say talk about Justin Herbert for a sec.
Oh, well, I liked him coming out of college. I mean,
Me
like
too.
I said, anytime you got that size, a lot of people look at him now and be like, oh, I knew he was going to be this. But a lot of people didn't go out there and do their homework. If you look at him playing in college, like I said, just because you miss a throw here and you miss a throw there, does not mean that you can't still go out there and play the game. He's a humble kid. He loves going out there and, putting his guys in position where they can catch the ball. He has great weapons around him, Keenan
Yes, he
Allen,
does.
Mike Williams. He has Austin Eckler, guys that are willing to go out and work for him. When you have guys surrounding you or around you like that, it makes your job that much easier. But he's a young guy that, hit the ground running. It was unfortunate what happened to Tyrod Taylor, the opening day. But,
Right.
when one door closes, another one opens.
Another
And, he went through that door and never looked back. But he's an awesome talent. I think, the Chargers are in good hands, from this day going forward. And it's just about him just, going in and staying humble and but appreciating everything that he has around him and going out there just to get the wins. And I think he'll be, as successful as the team will, as long as they keep a good defense around him and they go out there and, every week just go out there and play for one reason, and that's to win games.
I
So
think
Keith-
he fell. I think he fell into the stigma of the Oregon quarterback.
Yeah.
Because for a long time they was like Oregon quarterbacks couldn't play in the league, and I think he fell into that. And it's a lot of teams pissed off. Washington football team should have got him, but they didn't. But yeah, I
Right.
love Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and that
Absolutely.
happens. I mean, that's no different than just like
Sure.
the Heisman Trophy. I mean, you look at every quarterback that
Right.
wins the Heisman Trophy, they think that they're automatically going to come in the NFL and do what they did in college. But a lot of people don't understand that the pro game is a completely different game. Those windows are a lot smaller in the NFL than they are in college. You got to think a lot of people throw people open because they're running wide open, and it's not
Right.
like you're playing, Hoochie State every week in the college, but when you every week you playing against pros, so those windows aren't as big as they
Right.
were in college because
Right.
now you only you got 3 or 4 good matchups in your schedule, but then everybody else is a dud. But now you got to go out there and at the pro level, you're not only competing in practice against pros. Now you go out there on Sundays and got to compete against pros.
Hey, Keith, let me ask you this. What best piece of advice you've gained from any of your previous coaches?
I would say it's up to you as a coach to get the best out of your players. And that's what I'm finding out about this recruiting, college recruiting. The biggest thing is you take what a guy can do when you're recruiting him off of a highlight tape or you go see him in person, and that those are the things that he's capable of doing. So you always want to lean on that and stop putting him in positions to fit what your scheme is going to do.
Right.
If that is not what he was showing you coming out of college, allow him to do what made him successful in high school. And now it's no different in the pros. If he comes from another team as a free agent and he was successful doing what he did, allow him to come to your team and do what he did. Not try to put him in or pigeonhole him into your system. Allow him to do what allowed him to be successful wherever he was at previous. So that's something that I've also learned. That's one of the things that I think Belichick actually does. I had actually had a summer internship up there with him and just watching him, the way that he ran the team, approached coaching on a day in and day out basis was very, very, knowledgeable. And, when it comes down to situational football, he's a
Right.
master at it. And that's something that I've always, loved about being around him for that summer. And I've actually used a lot of that, in some of my coaching style to this day, because when the situation comes up, I think it's better to be prepared for it, because it's not going to come up all the time. But if you work it and be ready for it, when it does come up, it's like deja vu versus boo boo.
So let me ask you. So let me ask you this, Keith. Um, you are one of the coaches, special teams coach at Tennessee State with Eddie
Mm-hmm.
George. Um, you're a you're a recruiter. Um, I'm a player. I
Mm-hmm.
got uh, I got three offers on the table, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
coming to my house with my parents or what have you, along with myself, what have you. Give me your recruiting pitch.
It's not. I don't look at it as a pitch. I mean, I'm gonna tell
Okay.
you who I am, what I represent, what our coaching staff represent. Every coach on our staff either been in NFL or played in NFL, so we
Mm,
have those resources. If you have, I would only be recruiting players that have aspirations to play at the next level. But it's not even really about football when I'm going into a house. I'll always look at it as, at the end of those 4 years, can I get you to walk across that stage? Because that's going to be one of my proudest moments. I think the football will always speak for itself, but at the end of the day, I want you to come here at a great university to get a great education, first and foremost. But I will be coaching you very hard. Nothing is going to be given to you. You will have to earn everything that you do get. But at the same time, those other schools will not be able to offer you the experience that we can offer you as a university. But at the end of the day, I want you to go to a school where you feel that it is home. And I think coming to Tennessee State is exactly that, because we are a family. I enjoy coming to work every day. I enjoy going out to work and coaching these young kids every day. I'm hard, but I'm fair. But at the same
that's right.
time, if that is something that you're looking for, Tennessee State is the place to be.
All right.
Knowing what you know now, what would you tell the younger version of Keith Burns?
Wow. Um, the younger version, I would tell him, you didn't have to do it that way, because if I knew what I know now about the game of football, I would tell myself to stop hitting people as hard as I hit them. I would say, um, I've always gotten some advice from, a lot of people around me, but I would say the biggest piece of advice was, when I came into the league, I didn't owe anybody. When you leave the league, you don't want to owe anybody.
That's
So I
right.
think that is the biggest thing that I took, and like I
Word.
said, being a professional, you get caught up in, a lot of things that you can get, a lot of things that you can do. But at some point in time, you have to understand that just because you can don't mean you have to. Just because you can buy a lot of things don't mean you have to. And I'm not
So
one to get
true.
in and out of a lot of cars. Me, I'm old school.
That's right.
I ride the car that I have, till the cows come home.
That's right.
Until it say, you can't drive me no more. I'm actually still driving my 2002 Cadillac Escalade till this day. It's actually
Oh
20
well.
years old. So it doesn't take much. I say stay humble. You've done a great job so far as a younger Keith. Um, you know, things are going well. Stay in your faith. Now that you may have kids in the future, they're going to represent you well. I've been very blessed to be married for 24 years. I'm just trying to make it to 25. So my lovely wife, Michelle Burns, giving her a shout out, because she's definitely held it down. Throughout my NFL career, and
Thank you, Michelle.
making the transition into coaching. She's been there all the way, and I don't know if I would have ever been able to do it without her. So I definitely don't want to get off this radio without giving her a shout out to my lovely wife.
Shout out to
Shout
Michelle
out the
Burns,
wife.
And
Yes.
also the lady that raised me, Tracy Burns, and my sister Tawanda Burns.
Mama Burns.
Those are the ladies of my life. I don't know where I would be without them. My brother Austin. I did have my brother died in 2001,
Rest in peace, Perry. Rest in
but
peace.
a lot of people know him. But I still
Yes.
carry him with me to my heart.
That's right.
Hmm.
And if his kids are ever listening on your show, I miss them too. But like I said, it's been a great experience. But that's what I would always tell the younger Keith. You've done a great job so far. And you'll be appreciative of everything that you've done. Don't change for anybody, because everything is going to turn out all right.
That's right.
Mm. My man.
Love that.
My
I
man.
love that.
You got any other questions and stuff like that? Like I said.
Man.
Nah.
I know
I
it was a
am
great
curious
interview.
to
I know that.
know.
I told you,
Right.
Yeah,
Fred.
Keith Burns, you
Great
are laying
interview.
it out there for us. We love
Appreciate
it.
I appreciate
I'm
Go
it.
ahead, ask
wondering,
him
do
what
we
you need
want to
to ask
switch
him,
over
Ron.
to the
No,
NFL?
I'm good.
Talk about what's going on recently, the top rankings of the NFL. How are you
You talking
guys
about the
feeling about
you talking about
what's
you
coming
talking
up?
about the top NFL power rankings?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
Keith, who is your top? Yeah, look here. If you had to make your list right now, give me your top 5 NFL teams right now. Week 7. What? Week
I
7,
would
week 8?
go. I would go with. I mean, and in order.
No, no.
Oh, in
Yeah,
order. I would go with Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo.
gotcha.
I would go with. I still like what the Titans are doing because they can run the ball. Nobody's gonna really want to tackle Derrick Henry late, so it ain't gonna matter. As it starts getting cold, you're gonna see them holes getting wider and wider. And then I would always have to stick Denver in there because they're a team that took a chance on me. So regardless of what their record is, they'll always be high in the power rankings for me.
Right. All right. Who you got, Mo?
So first, if a team hasn't lost, they got to be number one. So the Arizona Cardinals for me. Then I'm gonna go to the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Bucks, and how about them Cowboys? I'm a critic. I'm a critic, but they have shown me that as far as on
Absolutely.
offense, they're very balanced. And when you have that kind of balance, it's tough for any defensive coordinator to game plan against that. Dak Prescott is definitely matured the same way that Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray have matured. Josh Allen as well. I think we're witnessing a changing of the guard in the NFL that some of these younger quarterbacks are starting to mature in what they're seeing. But that's my top 5, fellas.
Not bad, not bad.
My top 5, I'm gonna probably go with number 1 with the Cardinals. Number 2, I'll probably go with Tampa Bay, just off of the fact that how they still beating people and they secondary is thin. You know, Gronk out. You know what I'm saying? Number 3, I'll probably go with Dallas at number 3. No fan talk. It's literally just like, I mean, that defense constantly make plays, you know, like Mo said, the offense is balanced. When you got a run game and those weapons Dak Prescott got, man, I mean, it's tough to really sit there and stop them for 4 quarters. And then at number 4, I'll probably go with the Rams just because, hey, man, they got probably 2 of the best defensive players in football, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Their offense is high powered. And then number 5, I put Baltimore at 5 just because, Mo, they 3 players away from being 2-4. So, I mean, yeah, they 5-1, but without that 62-yard game-winning field goal, the Chiefs fumbled the ball with a minute left. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a firm believer in good teams find a way to win in adversity. I believe
That's
that.
right. That's right.
But, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm putting them at number 5 in my top 5.
Okay, hey, J-Dub, that's so funny you said that because this is going to blow you away. I'm putting Baltimore number 1, and this is the reason why. All the injuries, bro.
Yeah.
But when all those injuries happened during preseason before the season, nobody, trust me, everybody was putting Cleveland at the top.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Them dudes found a way to win, and I went to the game a couple of weeks ago on Monday night, and what they did to Indianapolis, I mean, I thought that game was over. We left early.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we left at the end of the 3rd quarter. But you know, the way they came back, you know, all the pressure that's on Lamar Jackson right now, you know, hey, man, listen, that might be the sleeper team, you know, and like I said, only reason why I said it because of all the injuries. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Rams. Number 3, I'm always going to put Tom Terrific in there. I don't care who he played for.
Yeah.
Number 4, the Chargers, even though I know they got embarrassed last week, I still think they'll bounce back, though. I still think they'll bounce back. They just got to do a better job of stopping the run. They look like they're having a hard time stopping the run right now.
Yeah.
And number 5 for me, only because I'm not a believer yet, because what are they, 5 or 6-0, are the Cardinals. But they are in my top 5. But we just flip-flopped each other, J-Dub,
Right.
Well, between 1 and 5.
Okay. Yeah, my power rankings start with Arizona Cardinals. Hey, thanks, Jay Will, because you've called this out in the beginning of the year, man.
He did.
Kyler Murray is doing this thing, bro.
He did.
Like I said, yeah, he's definitely an MVP candidate at this point. I got LA Rams 2, Baltimore Ravens 3, Dallas Cowboys 4, man. Dallas, look here, man. I can sit up and say I hate them or what have you, but I'd be a fool to sit up and say I don't respect. I respect what they're doing. You
Right.
talking about a team that I mean, they had pretty much the worst damn defense last year. It couldn't even get any worse than that. And then you look, I mean, they bring in the defensive coordinator. You see what he's doing wonders with that team. There's no real stars on that team. And then you got to look at Diggs, man. Let's talk about Travion
Yeah.
Diggs. Travion Diggs is
Yeah.
he's a damn MVP candidate if you ask
Easy,
me.
easy,
Obviously,
easy.
defensive candidate. And I got the Tampa Bay Bucks at 4, and I got Green Bay on the outside looking in. At
Love
6,
Green
what
Bay.
have you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's it. That's it in terms of that, guys. So that's my top 5 in terms of power rankings. But let me get back to this, Keith, because there's an elephant in the room.
Uh-huh.
We got to ask this goddamn question because everybody on Facebook and Instagram wants to ask this question, and everybody wants to talk about this or what have you. The Ray Lewis hit, okay, on Monday night. Let's talk about it, Keith. I was scared because I didn't want to bring it up because I was like, you know what? If I ask him this, we're gonna lose him. He's not gonna mess with us ever again, or what have you. He's gonna get on stand-up comedy. He's gonna talk shit about us and stuff like that. So let's get it out the way, Keith. Go ahead. The floor is yours, bro.
Well, actually, a lot of people was at that game. Actually, the hit he's referring to, it was actually a kickoff. I mean, it was actually a field goal, and we actually ended up going for a long field goal. We ended up missing it. But in the NFL, with a missed field goal that does not go out the back of the end zone, you can actually return it. So Chris McAllister actually got it, and I told the guys before that play started that we needed to cover. Lo and behold, I was the only one that covered. So going down, mind you, I did have a cast on my hand because I had broke my hand the week before.
Yeah,
My
right.
hand
Tell
was covered up. So I actually ran down there, and I'm thinking I'm sizing McAllister up. Okay, I can make this tackle. And then Ray Lewis came and actually took me off my feet. And that hit not only was on Monday Night Football, I think it was on the cooking channel too. So, he actually got me pretty good. But, like I said, I was getting calls, and everybody still asking me like, "Are you okay? Are you gonna be okay? You hurt?" Anything like that. But one thing I always say, I did end up getting up. And
That's right.
if you play the game long enough, you will get hit like
You
this.
daggone right.
Hey, Keith, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Ray Lewis go out after that hit?
Exactly.
He never came back in the game after that hit.
He actually ended up spraining his shoulder.
I got you, big homie. Hey,
Even though it was a big
I got
hit,
your back.
I actually still got the best of him.
That's right. I got your back. I got your back,
It
homie.
was a hit that was seen around the world. I do remember that.
Let me ask you this: the one word that best describes Keith Burns.
I would say humble.
Yes.
Like I said, I never want for
Stay
much. I don't
humble.
ask for much, but I think God has given me a lot, considering where I came from, how I came up. But I never really want for much. I'm a simple guy, but I would say humble. That's something that my mom has always taught me. To treat people like you want to be treated. So, as far as that goes, I would say one word would be humble. Because when I see people, even though I played in NFL, that does not define me, So when people see me out in the street, even when I'm in Alexandria, they'll be like, oh, he looks different, he acts different. And I'm like, no, this is who I am because the league never defined me because that was my job.
Right.
And I never carried my work home. So, when I go home, my kids don't care that, dad plays football. They just want to see dad at home. So
Right.
I was able to separate the two. And even when I came back home, to Virginia, I would never change. I would still go to the hood. I go to Del Rey, go to Port Kelly, go to Charles Houston, go to Charles Barrett, go to the rec centers, like I always did growing up because that's what basically made me. So I would never forget where I came from. And that allowed me to be able to still do some of the things in the community that I do now. So, I'm always grateful and thankful for that.
Well, speaking of Court Kelly, guys, I got a confession to make. I never told anybody this, and I'm gonna share it on air right now.
Confessions.
It's just, hey, it is what it is. I'm putting myself out there. It is what it is, man. We had a basketball. I was playing for Charles Houston. Went out for Charles Houston. This is back in 1985, 86. Our first basketball game was at Court Kelly. Now, let me be honest with you guys. I'm afraid of heights. And if anybody know what Court Kelly used to be in terms of basketball court, it used to be on stilts.
Yes.
So I quit. I quit the basketball team. I quit the goddamn basketball team. I told the coach that I was on punishment. My mom put me on punishment and stuff like that, or what have you. I've held that inside for the past 30-something years, or what have you, man. But yes, I was scared to play up Court Kelly because I was always afraid that gym was gonna fall and crash or whatever it was gonna be, man. So I just wanted to put that out there, guys. That's what that's my confession. So it is what it is.
That's crazy.
All right, go ahead, Ed.
Well, I was gonna say we have that. We appreciate your confession, cousin. That's deep. I feel you right here. So we have a special segment of the No Cap Sports Show podcast where sports and convos collide, and we're gonna ask Mr. Mo Money to come forward and put a little something on our mind, family. What do you have?
All right, so this probably be the last time I talk about the John Gruden thing, but it inspired me to do a little research because the NFL always felt a little funny to me, in terms of race relations. So I went back and I thought about it, and I thought about my childhood, and I remember seeing Warren Moon about 20 years ago in the NFL, and he's probably one of the greatest quarterbacks that I ever witnessed throw the ball that doesn't get any credit. And then I thought about it. 43 years ago, Warren Moon wasn't even allowed to be drafted. Nobody wanted him. He had to go to the CFL to show off his talents. If you combine his CFL stats and his NFL stats, he'd be a top 5 passer across the board. So that got me to really thinking about today's NFL. If you look at the top 10, you'll probably have at least 5 to 6 African-American quarterbacks in there. Well, 43 years ago, that wouldn't have been possible because we weren't smart enough. We weren't looked at as true leaders. So I want to extrapolate that and put that here. I want to see that same energy now going forward for African-American head coaches. There's 32 teams. There's only 5 minorities. 2 of them are African-American. The same way that we gave we showed you that we can handle the quarterback position, they can handle the head coach position. So I wanted to put something on the mind of the NFL. Give these guys a chance. If I hear one more time about Kellen Moore getting a head coaching opportunity before Eric Bieniemy, I'm going to lose my mind. So NFL, please don't wait 43 years like you did with Warren Moon to give these African-American quarterbacks a chance. Let's give these head coaches a shot. And not just a shot with, excuse my French, a shitty organization that don't have a quarterback. Give them a shot like Mike McCarthy got with the Dallas Cowboys with an already established roster.
Right.
Preach, boy. Preach.
Right.
So that was my segment. That's what I had on my mind. Hopefully some of these African-American quarterbacks, head coaches will get a chance.
That.
Great job, Mo.
Great job, Mo. Bring us back in, Ebony. We lost Keith.
We are back.
Mr. Burns needed to step out. Thank you so much, Keith Burns, for joining the show.
Yes. Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that.
We appreciate you, OG.
Yes,
we definitely
sir.
appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it.
You made Alexandria proud.
Much. Yes.
Salute.
So humble as well. I really do appreciate that, though. Seriously. That's
we all do.
Yes, absolutely. Good segment, Mo. Putting something on our mind. I love it.
Okay, let's get to the final thoughts, baby. Let's get on out of here. Let's wrap it. Yeah, people gotta go to bed.
All right. Well, final thoughts, fellas. What you got? This week, I think the Atlanta is hot. I think they're gonna close it out if they have not already. I don't know. I might have missed it in travel, but they look wonderful. So
they tricked that money up last night.
Yeah, they sure did.
They tricked that money up last night.
It was all Mo's fault.
Yeah, man. Actually, I think they playing tonight right now. So.
Yeah, they are.
Right now.
I think we play at 10, fellas.
10?
Yep.
Okay, back.
Yeah.
Did Boston lose to Houston? I know
They got
Houston was
smacked.
They lost tonight. Last
They
I
got
looked, it was
smacked.
6-0.
Okay, back.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
But,
Houston is looking beautiful right now.
My final thoughts. Hey man, I'm like we said, it's the best time of the year, man. You got basketball, you got baseball playoffs, you got football going. I mean, I'm happy now. I got something to watch every night.
Every
Right.
You
night.
know what
I
I'm
know
saying?
that. You got no excuse.
I ain't trying to toot my own horn, you know what I'm saying? But even though we playing them, I remember I projected the Dodgers and the Astros to be the two teams, you know what I'm saying, to play for the series. But hey, man, I stated them Red Sox was hot. But at the end of the day, man, the Astros play some damn good baseball, bro.
Trying to tell
They
you,
really
man.
are.
Them boys play some good baseball. You can say what you want about them,
I want Dusty
cheating
to
or
pull
whatever.
up.
Them
I
boys
want
play
Dusty
some
to pull
damn
it
good
up.
baseball, man.
Oh, Braves up 4-0 right now, guys.
Braves
Yeah,
up
Braves up
4-0.
4-0.
Man,
Yeah.
I
Thanks,
thought we
Iron
played
Rock.
at 10.
Bad.
We up 4-0. So, hey, man, look, if the Braves don't fumble it tonight, I'm not going to speak fast like I did last year. We was up 3-1 last year and lost.
That sure was.
If we would have won last night, I would have bought out to go look at some World Series tickets. I ain't buying no damn tickets or nothing until we win this series. Hey, I almost cried last year when we do that league, man. Like, how we do that?
It happens. It happens.
Yeah, man. But it ain't supposed to happen to my teams. It can happen to other teams.
What you got, little bro Mo?
So my final thoughts this weekend, you got a couple teams out there in the NFL that have got off to some god awful starts.
Yeah.
Especially some of these NFC East teams. And I'm looking to see what's going to happen. Are we going to see some head coaching shakeups if we don't see the proper adjustments?
Right.
I want to see this Deshaun Watson trade go through. I think, I'm going to be honest, I think Miami is the damn Houston of the further south. I don't think that – I mean, the defense is okay. But as far as offensively, they don't offer up a whole lot either. The O-line just as trash as the one in Houston, and the weapons are about the same.
Right.
So hopefully they'll build around Deshaun Watson in a way that Houston failed to do and support him in a manner that Houston was unwilling to do.
Yeah.
And he can have a successful career down there because outside of Josh Allen, he will be the best quarterback in that division. So that's my final thoughts for this week.
And not only that, Mo, my fault, Ron. Not only that, Mo, I think Miami could build around them easier just because like players will want to go play in Miami. You know what I'm saying? Like you get to live in Miami and Deshaun Watson is your quarterback. I think they'll be able to get a little bit more people.
Right.
For sure.
That's a great point.
I mean, he had a top 5 wide receiver, but we ain't gonna talk about how he fucked up the bag.
That coach was Go ahead,
Double R.
No, man, I know we keep saying it, man, but I definitely want to thank the homie for coming on, man. You know, those guys' time is very precious. I mean, you know, they got a lot going on, and we appreciate that. I appreciate the plug that connected us with him. And with that said, college basketball is right around the corner. Like you said,
who your mom?
I don't really have one, man. I just like to watch good college basketball. I'll tell you this: I hate Duke.
Right, man. You
but at the beginning, obviously you guys don't know this because we weren't together then. But at the beginning of the NCAA tournament last year, I picked Baylor. I loved Baylor because they got
Baylor
dogs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Baylor got dogs.
My youngin played for Sacramento.
Hey, Jay, we'll tell them again. 1 through 5 last year.
5, bro. Them boys, they switching
Davion
everything.
Mitchell and Butler.
Everybody rotating. Everybody playing D. Ain't nobody soft. Even a couple white boys they had tough. Like
yes, sir.
They strapped the hell out of Gonzaga, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because you know why too. And I'll say this real quick. I mean, I know they're athletes, but UCLA took everything out of Gonzaga. In that family, they took everything out of them, bro. And it showed once they played on Monday night. I mean,
that's right.
Right. But other than that, be sure to tune in next week, Hoop Heads, and I'll just leave it at that. We need all our Hoop Heads to tune in next week. Got a real special treat for y'all next week.
Absolutely, man. In terms of my final thoughts, man, hey, Keith Burns, hey, look at special shout out once again, man. We appreciate you, Alexandria. We hope we made you proud.
Thanks,
DMV,
Coach.
we hope we made you proud. What have you? These are more. This is just the beginning, guys. There's more good interviews to come. What have you? Like I said, we put ourselves out there every week, man, for you guys. What have you? Uncut. We don't, we come to you live as is, and what have you. This is not an easy task, but guess what? We're doing something that we're passionate about. And just to let you know, like I said, it's only going to get better. It is only going to get better. I guarantee you that. in terms of what I'm looking for this week, guys, I want to see Brooklyn in the Sixers Friday, man. I can't wait to see that. This Ben Simmons saga, man, is crazy. It's just heating up, but again, we're gonna save that for next week because the whole entire segment next week is all NBA and all the other stuff. So, like my boy Ron said, all you hoop heads and what have you, don't be afraid to call in and chime in and stuff like that. For real, don't be doing shit behind the scenes, texting me and shit or what have you. Call in, don't be scared. We do not bite. Ready. We don't bite. Ready. Damn. Now, on a serious note, I want to say rest in peace to my to a friend of mine, Samantha Butler. Like I said, she passed away last week. She's been like I said, she's been a close friend for like over 20 something years, man. She passed away last week. So I want to say rest in peace, baby girl. Rest in peace, baby girl. And God will look over you and them beautiful kids of yours and stuff like that. But those are my final thoughts.
Oh, real quick, team. Hey, if we're gonna give a rest in peace, we got to give a rest in peace to Colin Powell, man. It's a lot of great leaders out there that wouldn't have a job without him.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
I read that book.
Rest in paradise, General. Rest in paradise.
Yes,
absolutely.
Indeed. I will just say that, family, be on the lookout. There will be an opportunity to see most of the members of the No Cap Sports Show podcast in person, live and in living color. So be on the lookout for the notices on that. Great show, fellas. If I didn't mention before, my birthday's tomorrow.
Hey, happy birthday, babe.
Happy birthday.
Where you at right now? Where you at? You
Las Vegas, baby. Okay, so
what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, you got the EKs on.
Wait a minute.
Wait
a minute. Yes.
Okay.
The show is over. You know, it's 3 hours behind, so I'm about to turn it up.
Go ahead, turn it up. Hey, good night, guys. We love you.
Hey, just know if you get your ass locked up, don't use the company money.
Hey, Mo, thank you.
Don't use it.
You got the last word on this.